season 2 to episode 8 of Quarantine Conversations. We are back in the beach room. It's still looking very beachy.
It's a nice room.
It misses you guys, everybody at home. We are excited. Today we have J-Ray and KK Fresh coming at you with our live video for summer. We have our rap names because it's summertime.
Yeah,
of course. I want to sing another summer song. Here we go. Raw cookie dough is gross. Agree or disagree?
Agree 100%.
Really? 100%.
I agree 100%, and I'll tell you why. I used to not think so. I used to really not think so. And then one day I just went too far with raw cookie dough.
Okay, but did you eat too much of it?
Yes.
What happened?
Because I have, yes.
And I can never look at it again.
Did you get sick?
I didn't get sick.
Or you grossed yourself
just
out?
completely grossed out.
Okay, because I would say I disagree. I think it's good, but it really grosses me out when people eat a lot of it. Like when people take when you get the cookies and they're like pre-cut or whatever, and someone just takes one of those and pops it in their mouth, that I could vomit. But I take a little smidge and I'm like,
okay.
And then I take little bites of it. Because the idea of too much of it, it's absolutely unacceptable.
But I've just never, and I've thought about this quite a bit in my life, actually. But I've never had something and had it in such a large amount to the point where it makes me sick both in the moment and forever for that food. It's never happened. I've probably had too much pizza before or too much whatever, but
you'll have it again.
Everyone.
But eventually,
because pizza, we don't get rid of pizza, just pasta.
Oh man, yeah.
Sorry.
Reference episode 6, I think. But
episode last week.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, I think. I don't even know. Whatever. No, but it's been the only thing in the history of food in my life where I've eaten it too much and it forever changed the way I saw it. So
probably
yes, it's
because
gross.
the raw egg.
cookie dough.
I think the raw egg.
I know people who love it, eat it. I cannot stand raw cookie dough.
Okay.
I literally cannot stand it. You know how much I cannot stand it? If I had the choice, and we're gonna bring this around. If we had the choice with cookie dough ice cream or never have ice cream again, I would never have ice cream again. And I love ice cream, and ice cream is better than cake. And if you watched last week's episode, you know that we talked about cake. And in the middle of that episode, we were bombarded with text messages and comments from our technical team on saying how there's a certain, you may not like cake, I'm country
you
now.
may not like cake too much.
But there is a company, Nothing But Cakes, that the cake is real good.
Oh man.
Yes.
So we went ahead and we were getting text messages. After we filmed, we went out. Everyone decided to get cake. We didn't really talk about it. It just kind of happened. We were obsessed with cake. So today, everybody, we have Nothing But Cakes. So this episode is sponsored by Nothing But Cakes. It isn't really, but if you want to sponsor us, let us know.
More than welcome.
But this cake is really good cake, correct?
It is. It made me want to delete the portion of last podcast where I trash talked on cake. Because this...
Good. I'm glad you wanted to delete that portion.
Because... I mean,
is raw cookie dough better than this?
Don't ever talk about raw cookie dough and this in the same sentence because this is amazing. But yeah, I was thinking Kaimana was right. I just didn't know what cake was.
And then now?
Yeah, and now I know what cake is.
Glad I could lead you to the water.
A moment like this.
Play the song, guys.
So if you want to try really good cake, everyone is I'm not a cake person, but this is it.
It's so good.
This is it. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to watch last week's episode and come back to this one. Wow, he went for it. How is it? Is it good? Sorry.
I have to say, I've never had a conversation with someone about this and one of us end up not getting it. Texting, talking, someone always comes with the picture I went.
I know. Afterwards, everyone got cake. You guys called cake in.
Yeah.
Big Brother harassed Andre Lise. Yesterday, we got this cake. Sage went to get cake. We were talking about it in the office, and Pastor Michael's I'm going to go get cake. And I'm what happened? Is this crack cake?
It's so good that it makes me laugh when I eat it. I laugh. I FaceTime David. I giggled a little bit. But I FaceTime David because he was obviously the one that suggested it. He didn't pick up, but whatever.
I'm sorry. Wow.
But then I texted him all caps what I would have said in FaceTime, which is, I can't believe this cake.
I can't believe this cake. So check
about
out the cake. Let us know what you guys think, if this cake is worth it. There's one in Waterford, across the street from Waterford. I think it's still considered Waterford.
Yeah.
But check it out. They're open during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. John Mayer is overrated. Agree or disagree?
This hurts me. John. Your namesake.
Listen.
You tell me what you think.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, his name is John.
I'm so sorry. I
Don't just try to be controversial either.
I'm really not. And here's how I know I'm not, because I've been in so many mainstream worship bus rides over the summer.
And this is like a conversation. I literally only thought about it because of something someone said, but I didn't realize this was a thing.
Well, listen, and I've kept my mouth quiet on this forever, but it's my time to shine.
Go ahead, shine.
I think John Mayer is overrated.
Wow.
And I wouldn't say that if he wasn't so hyped up by the people that I know who love him.
Okay.
It's, but like...
You do know that Jill would leave Kia for John Mayer.
Yeah, and I would leave Jill for John Mayer too. We would all leave. Elisha would leave us for John Mayer.
And in my opinion, there are better artists to do that for than John Mayer. But whatever. I
like
obviously...
Who's a better artist?
I don't know. Like someone even in the mainstream spotlight, like of just America. I don't know. Not that John Mayer's not, but I'm just saying like...
Why is he overrated? Like, why do you think it's so like...
Okay, so the term overrated is very interesting because a lot of times it has to do with people's rating of them and not so much their talent in itself.
Literally,
right? Yeah, exactly. So like
a
couple episodes ago, we asked if mac and cheese is overrated. I think it's properly rated. I think people hype it up the appropriate amount. John Mayer, especially among the people I know, but really anybody I know that likes John Mayer, just loves him, and I'm just like, he's definitely so good,
right?
But he's not that good.
Okay.
His songs aren't that good. He could probably rip the best guitar solo ever, but his songs are not that good. I'm sorry. That's my opinion.
Like, what kind of music do you like? Like bad music?
What I've found is in almost every genre I can find something I really like, an album or a band or whatever. What I just don't know. Of course I can find a song of his I like, but I cannot understand the hype. I can't.
Kaimana, John Mayer is overrated.
I really need to condense. Yeah, like I need a timer.
Go for it.
He's not overrated at all. Okay, one, I will say John Mayer's not even like, he's famous. He's like the upper level of like U2. Like U2's not like, oh, I really need their new album right now, but they're just like forever legendary kind of. You know what I mean? But they're not like in the top 40 celebrities you would think about.
Right.
Also because it's not celebrity, it's a band. But so I would say he's there. So you really only hype up John Mayer if you like him. It's not like Ariana Grande, or Kanye West. Like it's not a universal thing. I agree. Actually have seen an interview with him and he talks about that and how whatever. But I will say every musician, actual music. I mean, John's an actual musician. Oh. I have to really try to not be insulting here. Every musician I know who writes songs, like people who write songs.
Okay, that's definitely not me.
Write lyrics, write the music behind a song. Every person I know like that respects John Mayer. Okay. Even if they don't like him and his music, they don't like that genre or whatever, they respect him because his lyrics are crazy. His writing is crazy. And then I don't really know that much about music, but having musicians explain to me how his mind musically works, I'm like, wow, I really respect that. So that's what I would say. Any songwriting musicians I know respect him. And then I would say too that he's the best in the world. Oh my God. Wow. No, but he also, I don't think he's overrated because he really likes what he does. Like he tours right now with Dead and Company, which I didn't even know was still a band because I thought they were dead. Yeah, but they are. But he kind of like, he's reached this level of fame where he just does things he likes to do. Yeah. Like he goes and tours with a band and he's not even singing. He just plays guitar because he likes to. Or he will go to Montana and record something. He'll be wearing a Mexican blanket. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And he doesn't necessarily care to like be on the top 40s charts anymore because he's kind of done that already. So I just respect him as a person. I love him. Love you, John. Please call me and Gio back. And I just don't think he's very hyped up. That's my thing. I think he's low key at this point as a celebrity, and only if you like him is he hyped to you.
Yeah. I do think he's overrated because I don't get it, but I don't care either. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like I'm not a musician, so I'm just kind of like.
But let me ask you this.
So all I see is like, oh my gosh, I'll give you my baby. And I'm like, oh, what about your baby?
But see, I understand if you're not a musician and you're not into that kind of music. So I don't know why you'd like it. But
obviously, obviously he's good, right? Like I believe that. I don't think I believe he's good. I mean, I respect all musicians because I can't even like tie my shoes. So like it's fine.
Me either.
My only thing is I've bought his albums to like get into his music, and I've never been able to. That's my only thing. I'm like, I want to, because I want to be like, oh yeah, he's so deep, because like his video is so like cool, and I want to say that, but I get bored. But I think it's one of his latest songs that he wrote about a girl I do not even like. I won't even mention her name, so don't even say it on this podcast.
I don't know who it is.
But he wrote it about their relationship, and I heard that song on the radio, and I'm like, I have to like feel things, and I felt it, and then I found out about her, and I was like, you ruined everything, John, because I was about to like, yes, let's leave Gio for John Mayer, because I really like this song. So, but I think he's good, but it's funny because I want to be all like hype about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the great, like I just want to be obsessed. And I just can't get there.
I think she makes a really good point, though, that he's like, if you're a musician especially, you would really appreciate him. And so I don't want to, like, I'm not going to backpedal, but what I want to say is, like...
Are you going to regret this, like the cake? Remember, you should have agreed with me on the cake?
Bring me a John Mayer song that's as good as that cake, then yes. But if not, then whatever. No, but I just think, okay, among the people that like him... Among that, then my opinion is that he's overrated. She makes a really good point, though. He's really not fighting to stay relevant. I feel like if he wanted to, he could, because he knows how to write good songs. But
I remember when he got his Grammy for a Daughter's song, and I just remember I thought he was kind of pompous and arrogant. I saw him on the award show.
I used to think he was too.
The song that the other dude that he wrote the song with, and I remember him going, I don't even like the song. I just did it for whatever. And I was like, you're a jerk. Like, just it's a Grammy. But he was or an Oscar. I can't remember. I don't remember what award it was. So and the other guy was so grateful, and I was like, you're a brat. And I guess that's attractive, but literally that was probably my first impression of him.
But see, he used to like, just in case you guys wanted to know, he used to like have like struggle with a lot of addictions and stuff and whatever, and pornography and whatever. And so he did like hit a really low point in his life. And then ever since then, like he kind of went through almost like a Justin Bieber phase where like everyone was against him because he was like a womanizer and he was rude and he was whatever. And so then, but a lot of that had to do with substances that he was consuming. And so when he took a break, he had a, I don't know if it was really cancer in his throat or whatever. But then, he thought he would never sing again, all this stuff. But then now he's like on that Justin Bieber recovery road where he's like a nice person now. And he's like, oh, I was intoxicated by fame and whatever. So I just want you guys to know his history and his background. Because forgiveness
I feel like
sorry.
a little warmer towards him now that she says that. I didn't know that.
So thanks, John. We'll talk more. I really think in like any conversation with Jonathan
like it next week,
if you give him a good enough like argument in 30 minutes, he'll
but that's good though. That means that he's not being prideful. Like he genuinely means that. Because some people will be like, boy. No, I hate cake.
Well, I just remember being in the buses for mainstream worship, and I'm mad. John Mayer's bad.
Did they make fun of you in the buses?
No,
I
sat there.
No,
like if Josh, maybe Gio, and like Tim Benitez as well, if they're listening to this right now,
listening.
Yeah, I'm just because I remember
they're allowed to have an opinion.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Camille.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they're listening to this right now, they're probably maybe a little shocked at my opinion because I sat there with my opinion to myself.
You pretended you liked him?
No, I definitely didn't do that.
You bought a John Mayer shirt for the tour?
But I did that once. No, I'm just kidding. I never did. No, but yeah, I just sat there quietly because exactly, it's my opinion. So.
Okay, snow is better than sand. Agree or disagree?
Oh my gosh.
Snow is better than sand. Have you ever seen snow?
I have seen it, but I don't remember.
You touched it.
Have you ever touched it?
I think so, but I was 4.
You're super
so
little.
I don't remember,
You've seen snow.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I hate both of those things.
Okay,
right?
Which one's
is
better?
Is it like which one is less evil?
Yes, which one's less evil?
I think that snow is worse. I disagree because snow melts in my boots and makes my feet cold.
Yeah,
it melts in my gloves and makes my hands wet. And then when it's wet and cold in there, there's no going back. Whereas sand, I do hate sand, but I can like quickly go and rinse it off. Like I'm scarred from the snow melting.
I just think universally sand is more like associated with happiness.
Okay.
Because you know what I mean? Like you're never shoveling sand out of your driveway to go to work.
It's true.
People have to do that with snow like every day. Sand is like the beach. So I think sand is better. But again, I don't remember snow that much. So
this question was very hard for me because I think I've lived in snow, and then I've lived in sand. So I guess because they're both horrible and annoying, but a snowstorm's really deadly. But there's nothing like fresh covered snow over a house and over like a building. It's just beautiful.
Man,
and sand doesn't give you that. A mountain can give you in the sky. So I I do think snow is better. So I think I agree. There's just something, the picturesque of it with fresh fallen snow. Do you want to build a snowman?
See, that's another
you can't build
opinion
a
that I
sandman.
would maybe
You can build a
change.
sandcastle, but they never come out pretty. You can make a pretty snowman.
Yeah,
but
you have to build I don't know how they build sandcastles. Not
I've
with
never
those
been
little buckets that they
interested in
sell.
building a
That's for
sandcastle.
sure.
I don't even know how people.
Too busy listening to John Mayer.
Not listening to John Mayer.
Honestly, in a couple weeks, Jonathan is going to be the biggest John Mayer fan
have a
I know.
T-shirt, John
and he's
Mayer.
going to be
I'm gonna
texting me
be singing
lyrics
his
like, wow,
songs.
this
I'm going to be
blew
doing
my
drum
mind.
covers of him in the
Drum
auditorium
covers.
of all his songs. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue our conversation. This week we're going to be talking about navigating loneliness. In this season of quarantine, I think this has been probably the universal, to quote Jonathan, he's used that word already about 3 times in this conversation.
Maybe 7.
The universal
word.
feeling as a whole, that people have felt lonely. They have felt isolated. They've just kind of, felt it. I was kind of doing a little bit of research on loneliness, and people describe loneliness as feeling lonely probably more than one time a week. And it can evolve into feelings of being unwanted and feeling empty. And I think this is a really important conversation to ask, even to talk about. I even had a conversation last night. It was so crazy. Someone reached out last night to me, and they're someone that I did not even think was struggling in this.
Yeah.
Literally struggling. I felt so bad. I was a little bit speechless trying to converse and, kind of bring light to the situation and help out. But it's so crazy how this is such a relevant issue.
Yeah.
So here we go. We're going to be a little bit open, a little bit honest. I hope that everyone at home is blessed and open to hopefully, if you are experiencing this, to reach out, to connect, to obviously reach out to God, but also to your church fam. So here we go. When was the last time you experienced loneliness?
The last time I remember experiencing loneliness and categorizing it as that, in my head, I was like, wow, I'm lonely. It was before all of this. It was before the quarantine.
Yeah.
It was probably a couple weeks before quarantine. I was working from home, and it's something that had happened multiple times, probably within the last year and change. But I think I just wrapped up with work, had that all completed. I was home. No one else was home, and I remember literally just feeling lonely. And I mean, we'll discuss a lot of different avenues of loneliness, but I remember considering it loneliness because I had basically the option to not be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, we'll discuss it more, but I just felt like I was lonely. It's hard to explain without using the word itself, but I don't know, like you said, just kind of the word empty.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very weird. I'm excited to talk about it more with you guys, but yeah, just remember it was a random day, got done with work, and I remember just kind of feeling this sense of purposelessness, if that makes sense. I don't know, it was this very hands drop, oh well, now what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, slouch out, slouch over.
So that was probably, I guess, a few months ago, maybe 3 months.
I felt lonely when you guys said you didn't like John Mayer.
Oh man.
Well, I was waiting for that one.
5 minutes ago.
No. But before that, probably one of the loneliest times in my life, which I'll, explain more because it will sound really sad or whatever, but was probably my maternity leave. The beginning of this year, 7 weeks long. That was looking back on it, I'm like, wow, I've never probably ever felt that alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was me.
I think probably a couple weeks ago, in the middle of quarantine, I think that we were finally in our quarantine pattern. And then just kind of, I have these moments. This is really mad depressing. But I'm just going to share it. I've thought about this since, I know this for years. This is so bad.
No.
There's always these moments in life that I realize I can go several days without even talking to anyone. Because of life, because of whatever. And I think the thought hits me. I'm like, man, if I was to die right now, no one would find me until 3 days from now. No one would know.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel, I think that, whatever. My mind is weird. But not that I want to die in those moments, but I think about that and I'm like, man, what's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like something has to give, but usually on the, like if I, just kind of have that thought, I don't know. It kind of hits you when you realize you have not connected with people. You have not, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and it just kind of, it hits me.
Realization.
Let me ask you guys something. Has it been more often, these thoughts since quarantine, less, more, or just like the feeling?
No. So for me, and I don't know if, I think people will be able to relate to this, but for me, it's been way less during this quarantine. And I think it goes back to something I mentioned before, like at this point in everything that's going on right now, like we don't really have, like you said, first of all, there's a rhythm, there's a flow. We kind of get used to a certain thing, but there's almost like this unity in the fact that everyone's going through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I'm just thinking of that. And then also too, like, there's not really anything I can do about it at this point. It's kind of something we're just all dealing with. But even just to myself, I'm like, it's kind of not an option. There's no alternative. But it's been less during this quarantine because of that. Outside of the quarantine, it's like an overwhelming, like, I got to do something about it. Like now I really can't. And so I think it turns into like an immediate, like, okay, well, I'm not going to feel that way. I'm just going to go do whatever else, pray or whatever. And that's still a possible solution outside of quarantine. But there, it's almost overwhelming, like the options to get out of the loneliness,
right?
That it just kind of stacks on top of it. And then you get, I don't know, like, it's just weird. So it's been I don't even think it's happened at all during this quarantine because there's just like this automatic, like, I'll check on people, I'll text someone, and it just seems a part of, like you said, our rhythm that we're in right now. Yeah. So no, it's been way less inside and more so outside.
I would say that during most of the quarantine, I didn't feel super lonely or anything. I did though, like, have weird like PTSD because I just got off maternity leave. So then in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going back. So I was getting kind of anxious about it because I'm like, I don't want to do another maternity leave. Like, I don't have it in me. I need to be around adults and people, whatever. But I would say the actual feeling it, I didn't really, there probably was a couple days where I was like, okay, like I would really like to go see one of my friends. Yeah. I'd really like to, have one of them drive by and we can talk about something. Yeah. But besides that, it's been all right. It hasn't been like the most fun thing I've ever done. But
yeah. I think I didn't even know. I was wondering how you guys were going to respond because I'm kind of same, to be honest, not really, you either get into like during emergency situations, people get into fight or flight mode. Yeah. And I'm a fighter. Yeah. So, and here's the, just kind of I don't want anyone to be like, oh, they're fine. They're not lonely. Cause I know that people are, I'm like, but I am in fight mode right now. So I'm just like, no, we got to get it done. We got to help, the nations. We got to pray. We got to do this. We got to do whatever. But I guarantee you, once it's quarantining is done,
that's what I'm saying. Yes.
I guarantee you it's going to be done. It's going to be whatever. And it's going to hit me randomly. Yeah. And I'll just feel that feeling like, and it's not obviously it's a feeling. It's not a real thing. Almost a little bit of like, I just lost my purpose. I had something like even though I hate change, the change invigorated me. Right. Like I've been doing fine arts for 20 plus years. The same thing, the exact same thing. Doing districts, practicing, on Thursday night, 7:00, writing this, doing whatever, trying really hard, not advancing, feeling like a loser. Like it is my pattern for 20 years. And for the first time, I don't have that pattern.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's
I have lost anything. And I feel bad because people are at home like, but I want to, and I'm like, and I get it.
Yeah, but it's just.
It's in my mentality. It's just so the same. And it always has this negative result. It's almost refreshing to stop. But
it's cool.
Once we're done, I know that I'm going to go, what now?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
That's very true.
How do you personally react when you're lonely?
I probably do the worst thing you can do, which I just, I like start to withdraw, from anything. Like, cause I guess I start to feel very small in the world. And so then I kind of start to feel, and this is how I know I'm lonely. It's when I start to feel like anything I might ask of someone's a burden to them, like, oh, whatever, like where it wouldn't be a burden. I'm like, hey, what's up? Like that's a normal way. But when I'm lonely, I feel like that's like a burden for them to tell me what's up. So that's how I know. That's kind of like how I deal with it. So then that's why I withdraw. Cause I'm like, well, I don't want to be a burden to anyone, even though I'm falsely feeling like I am.
Yeah.
So that's usually how I deal with it.
Yeah, like it's so weird. Like, and so this is literally how I react, and I'm gonna give you my like automatic reaction and then what I try to do about it.
Okay.
I get like I am not an anxious person. I do not get anxiety really ever. Sometimes that's like to a fault. Like I should maybe worry about things more a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
Like certain things I'm
you
just
should care. You should give a rip.
Yeah, like but so that's in general, and I do like, I don't know, that to me it serves me well in a lot of areas. But when I feel lonely, I get anxious really fast.
Yeah.
Like I start to like, my heart beats faster, like not insanely like whatever, like something bad is happening, but it's like, and I feel that happening, and I like, dude, my mind goes a little crazy. Like I start to think about all the things I could do to stop being lonely right now. And then I start thinking about all the things that I could do to like, I don't know, like to fulfill a sense of purpose, you know? And like, I just, my mind goes to all these places where I'm like, wow, I need to take control of you right now. Cause it's so out of nowhere, like it going in all these different directions. So that's how like I automatically react when I get that feeling of like, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got this time. What do the clock is ticking. I've got to go do something. Do I go visit family? I don't know. Like, what do I do? Like, there's too many, whatever options. But how I react to that after I like take control of it and I'm like, okay, this has to stop, is I'll really just reach out to someone.
Yeah.
Even though I don't feel like it. Like there's a couple group chats I'm in. I'll just like text one.
What? You text a group chat?
I cannot believe that you're in group chats.
That's how you know he's really lonely.
That's bad.
Because if you're gonna get in it, like, you're
even
like,
in the cake chat,
anybody on
last week,
Jonathan's group chat, if he texts, please be there for him.
All right, listen.
I'm just saying, we gotta be there for each other.
It's group chat text, and yeah, the two things that make me anxious: loneliness and group chats. but group chats, they help in this case. No, but like I'll just send a random word or a meme or something. And it'll be so
your
like
your little flags, like,
guys, help,
exactly.
help.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and a lot of the times, what will happen is like the group chat will just stir up, and then a bunch of people will just say things, and if that's not enough, somebody will be like, "What are you all doing tonight?" and all this stuff, and it just goes from there. And it's like I had to really hold my breath to actually get out and do it, because loneliness is very like again, it's weird.
Yeah.
But once I step out and do it, it's like, okay, people are there, and I can get more organized at this point. But yeah, my automatic thing is I just get like really anxious.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I'll feel really, really sad, like really, really sad, but I don't ever show it. Like, I'm like this, but you'll never know. And I'm not saying that to be all cool, because people are like, oh yeah, you can't tell. I was like, no, you can't.
But does the sadness persist into when you then are with people too? Like, does it affect you that long? That's okay.
So it's like there, and I can literally, I can repress it, not a positive thing. Right. I'm like, but I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And then I know, at this point, I know myself when I start really thinking hopeless thoughts.
Yeah.
Like that's how I know, like I could be sad and I can just push it down or, take it captive or whatever. But I'm like, I just got to keep going. Yeah. Until I am around people that I can for real share my sadness with or share my feelings with or do something about it. Yeah. But then like I said, I could know, and I'm just like, if I ever think I'm not going to get out of this, I know that I've gone too far. But if I do think that, I'm like, okay, stop, because the devil's a liar.
Enough of this.
But but I just know myself so well. If I do think that, then I purposely, the last time I probably felt like that sad was probably last summer. I was really, really bummed. I'm like, for real bummed. I'm like, man, and then I was trying to like find the silver lining and think my happy thoughts. And I was like, I cannot find any.
It's not working.
I cannot find any. Yeah. And then at that point I was like, you cannot find what? you bet. Like, I have awesome conversations with me, myself, and I, the Holy Spirit. He's like, me
too. Yeah.
So, but I can, when I get those hope, like there's just no hope.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh.
And I think we all have like that indicator in our heads where it's like, okay, we've gone too far in the loneliness path. Mine, I'll expound on it a little bit more because I said it. Mine is like the purpose sense. Like I think part of why I get anxious is because I'm like, I weirdly, when I'm that lonely, I'm like, who am I? What am I good at?
You're just like, what is my identity?
So like my mind will go straight to like, oh, I should work on like building like my little Twitch live stream thing. I'll start thinking about that. I'll like, and this is maybe a bad reason to do something, but a good thing to do. Like I'll text my leaders for Redbug. Love y'all if you're watching. But like I'll be like, I don't know. Again, I'm a little lonely, but again, it's that sense of like who am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm a leader. Let me go ahead and
kind of find meaning to your purpose.
That's
exactly.
good.
Yeah. And so, but like I said,
good.
no, exactly. It's a good thing. I think it's a weird motive because it's almost like this sad, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll text a family member or I'll whatever, but it's weird what it's linked to. It's linked to that thought where when I realize that, I'm like, you've gone too far. Similar to what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, like having to
red
verify my
flags.
purpose to myself.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing when you get to that point.
I'm good enough. I'm
it's
strong.
loneliness.
I'm a man of God.
Yeah. I gotta prove it.
I'm better than John Mayer.
I already know that.
If you ever think that you've gone too far, for sure, but
okay.
that's fine.
He's not that good.
If that's how you deal with it,
it's fine.
that's okay.
Okay. What are some biggest misconceptions regarding loneliness that you guys think of?
I feel like the greatest misconception, to me at least, is like loneliness actually means you're alone.
Okay.
Because that's what good. Always hits me. Like it's hard to get out of it because when I feel lonely, I'm like, I'm alone. I am correct about the loneliness, you know? And looking back on like lonely times, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was not alone at all. Like people were there for me. People were around me. Even people were offering to do things for me. But because of the loneliness and because I was like, when I feel lonely, I feel like, what do you mean? You know, like I don't want to inconvenience you, whatever. Yeah. So then I realized, I pushed away a lot of the things that would help me to not feel lonely.
Wild. Wow.
And so, I always think that's something I have to convince myself when I feel lonely. I'm like, okay, you feel this way, but you're not actually alone.
It's good.
There's two, in my opinion, and you would think it would have to be one or the other, but I don't think it does. So the biggest misconceptions regarding
my favorite things in the world are how he prefaces everything.
I think
Sorry.
it just helps me. It helps me think.
I know it does.
But
it's such a long intro. I bet you you would be a very, very good writer.
I need to write then.
Yeah, you do.
I'll do
you
that
probably
when I'm
need
lonely.
to. I don't know, just because if you could get what you're saying out on paper and expand it where it was just very, because I think you could bring us in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could listen to other good writers and be inspired.
So not John Mayer.
Like John Mayer.
No, I saw where you were going with it.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
I feel like we're I'm going to analyze it. We're projecting because there's a joke every other thing.
I
literally
projecting every time we're like, pause for joke because we're going to cry right now. So, but my projecting is over analyzing everything also.
Because I'm like, man, this is going to get heavy.
No, but.
Well, we're going to keep bringing Cake
Heavier
and John Mayer in
things.
there.
Yes.
That's a John Mayer album.
But we're adults.
Yeah,
and we're aware. Go ahead.
The biggest misconceptions regarding loneliness, number one, is that it's other people's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have always, and again, I don't want to sit on some high horse because if that's something you struggle with that thought pattern, then I understand. But I feel like a big misconception is I'm lonely, and it's all of your fault.
Yeah.
And you'll start listening to people who aren't checking up on you,
yeah.
who aren't texting you, calling you, who aren't, or who you'll accuse of oh, you're not praying for me. No one's praying for me. I've seen that trap very, very often. I think that's a huge misconception about loneliness is that it's somebody else's fault. But then the second misconception, I think, is that people think it's their fault. Like people could think, oh, it's my fault that I feel this way. It's my fault that I'm lonely, and you'll act accordingly. You'll be like, no, I deserve this, so I'm just going to stay this way.
Yeah.
I think those both are bad ways of looking at the entire situation because at the end of the day, loneliness is it's not about it being bad in itself. It's bad based on how we react to it.
Yeah,
it can be such a beautiful thing depending on what we decide to do with it. So I think those are the two biggest misconceptions. I'll put number one being the blame on other people because that can lead you down a road of bitterness that is it's just a self-harming in your head.
Right.
No one's even, people are thinking of you. Maybe somebody is whatever, but loneliness does that to you where it's nobody cares about me, and it's just not true.
Well, because it's hard, right? Because if it's not your fault and it's not someone else's fault, it's
fault. Yeah.
What is it then? How did it come upon me?
We have to blame someone, especially in society now. We have to blame someone.
Yeah.
We can't just accept.
Nothing can just happen.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what makes it so difficult for people. But I just genuinely believe those are two. That's where people mess up.
Big ones.
Yeah.
I think I have three. Only certain people get lonely. and I disagree. I think everybody gets lonely.
Yeah,
I think people could be watching right now thinking, oh, wow, they've never been lonely ever. Or even to think, you have a husband, you have a baby, all this stuff at home, and you don't realize it's crazy. A mind thing.
Yeah.
It's not just your atmosphere thing. So everybody gets lonely. We all experience it. We just have to learn how to deal with it in our environment and move forward. I feel like, I mean, I said 3, but I only say 2. I think loneliness is contagious. You don't even realize, this is a scientific fact. It's proven to be true. When you are around people that all the time say they're lonely, like if you say you're lonely, you say you're lonely, and you could be fine, but it's very counterintuitive. You feel like, oh, I was fine, but you say you're lonely and you say you're lonely. Oh, okay, I must be lonely. Mm-hmm. So it's all about your network around you, and it's proven. I think it's 54% of loneliness has to do with that. You weren't really lonely. It's just other people were. And at that point you feel you're lonely. Right. And I think even more so, even network as in your circle, but also like your social media. You look around and you're like, oh, they're out partying. Oh, they're out hanging out. They're this. And I'm not there. All of a sudden I was fine at home chilling. I was fine at home doing whatever. But now all of a sudden there's this fear of missing out. And I've just invited these lonely thoughts, and I've been, now I'm comparing myself to that, and all of a sudden I have now invited loneliness into my life. But it is very contagious. Yeah, like it is it's a mind game, a mind trap, which I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Mm-hmm. But like it is very contagious. So you got to be careful who you hang around with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think there's the expression like you're alone in a crowded room type of thing. Yeah. That's the thing. That's almost a John Mayer song.
That's actually, David might know. It's like, or you might know, dark blue, dark blue, dark blue. Have you ever been alone in a crowded room?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Who sings that? It's not John Mayer. I know.
No,
but anyways, it was in my lonely days as a high school scene kid.
But that is something really, really,
I think that's true because even... I don't know, sometimes maybe people use loneliness also as like a ploy for attention or something, but when John was talking about blaming other people, it always makes me think of sometimes when you text someone, because I've done this before, like you text someone, you're thinking about them, you're like, oh, I miss you, whatever, and you kind of just say that because you can miss someone, right? Yeah. And then that person comes back with like a witch, and it's like, if you miss me, well, why didn't you say something, whatever? And I always feel like I am saying something. I texted you first saying, hey, I miss you, love you, thinking about you. I'm not looking for you to come to my house and stay with me for a week. I just was genuinely telling you, hey, I'm thinking about you. But understanding now what everyone's saying, I'm like, that person probably is very lonely, right? To even the point where someone reaches out to you and is like, hey, maybe you were on my mind for a reason. The immediate reaction is to like attack them and be like, well, you could have texted me. I have a phone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, okay.
It's a warped, we're just so broken. It's a warped conception that we can't just accept. I don't know. We want to blame someone else. So we would rather, instead of taking 100% responsibility, we're like, okay, you're 20%, your fault, you're 50%. Try to make sense of it. And it's just like, no, it's me, it's my mind, it's my life, it's my choices. It's the devil is a liar. And then the fact that you texted me, okay, like, thank you, I'm going to receive this 10% goodness in my life and let's keep cruising. But we want to blame someone else. We want these connections, and it's never going to satisfy us.
No, I was about to say, it'll make it worse.
Only 100% love and affection is through Jesus. Right. Like we can't satisfy each other, even if we were like to dedicate, lifelong, servanthood to each other. We're never going to be satisfied.
Right. And I think maybe that just comes with spiritual maturity to understand that loneliness is just an emotion and a mindset, because sometimes it's like, I always laugh when I'm talking to people and they're telling me how no one's there for them. And I'm like, I'm talking to you. Like, I'm speaking to you. Yeah. So there's at least one person here for you, but and I've been in that too when I was younger. Like, I don't trust anyone, and I'm telling someone that. Right. So I'm like, well, obviously I trust you at least, but it's like we don't even.
Your mind is shut off to that.
And I think sometimes too we say that I don't trust you, and then we wonder why we can't get closer. Yeah. But you just told me you didn't trust me. Right. Do you know that? Like, I heard you loud and clear because I thought we were cool. We're obviously not.
You don't trust me.
And then you push people away. Yeah. Like we have to learn how to give and take and learn how to form those right connections, because we ruin it with our mouths so much.
I always feel weird when somebody's like, oh, yeah, you can't trust anyone, man.
And like, they're talking to you, right? And you're like, am I included?
Like, yeah, man, you can't. No.
I'm like, no, I know. I can't trust you.
No way, dude.
You're like, well, I used to trust you.
Yeah, but now, there goes that.
According to science, there's 9 subtle ways that could tell if you're lonely, that you could tell if someone's lonely or if you're yourself lonely, even though it doesn't feel like you are. Number 1, constantly feel tired. Kaimana?
I don't know. Have I been lonely my whole life?
Take really long, hot showers. I was like, maybe we just like to be clean. You've gained weight. Everybody on quarantine.
That's a tough one.
Hang out with other lonely people.
Yes.
You are constantly making mountains out of molehills. Can't stop binge watching shows. That's everybody right now. Spend a lot of time on social media. It feels like you constantly have a cold. And last but not least, care a lot about material possessions. Which one of these signs sticks out to you, or which one of these signs you want to comment on or add more to?
2 of them for me. Constantly feeling tired when I'm lonely.
Yeah.
I've never seen a realer thing on any Word document ever in the history of my life. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would love to understand why that happens, but like, I mean, I could tell you the thought processes that help me know if I'm lonely or this or that.
Yeah.
Dude, if I keep yawning, like, and I just feel tired, like all this, that's how I know.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is like, I'm so like aware, because I've seen days where I've been like in that slump and something will happen. Somebody will surprise me, or I'll remember that I was invited to this event or something like that. And it's like my heart gets like jump started. Like, and I'm just like, okay, but like, if that wouldn't have happened, I would have been in the same like tiredness that I was in all the time. Yeah. So that's just very real. But it's also like, it just proves to me it's like a fake tired.
Yeah.
It's like a
it's
tired,
like a tiredness of your like soul.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know?
Like, no, it is.
It's not that you haven't had enough rest.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all. Like, my heart will still be beating fast sometimes, because like I said, I'll like get anxious a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll just be dragging.
Yeah.
Like, it's the weirdest thing. I wish I understood that more. But so that's number 1 for me. But then the other one is this: caring a lot about material possessions.
Yeah.
I pride myself on being somebody who is especially recently, I don't know why, like in the past year, I'm a very thankful person. I'll thank God for things randomly. And I'm happy that my heart is there.
Yeah. I mean, amen. Me too.
Yeah. But when it comes down to like being lonely, I can only find that thankfulness in like the stuff I have.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I'm there at home a lot because I'm working from home. Like, I'll look at like my computer, iPad, TV, and I'll just be like really thankful for that stuff, but almost not even to God. Like, I'll just be happy I have it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because that's on here, but I never knew that was any indicator of like loneliness, but it flares up at the same time. I'm getting really tired, like,
I think
that's
makes
why retail
sense.
therapy is a thing.
Yeah.
People go buy it like to just kind of like,
but
I'm going to get things
because
satisfied.
There's like the relational void. And so you're just like, I have to fill it with something, things, it's almost like you don't value people now because you're valuing stuff.
Yeah. And you'll feel better because if you're like, I'm going to get a brand new pair of sneakers and now I'm worth something because I have something, or at this, now I can like post it. I can do this. Like, you find your value in material possessions.
And I think
you don't have value in and of yourself.
I feel like people that I know who just aren't like, they're not lonely people. They're relational. They're healthy, probably is the word.
They're
not like us. I notice that they really are not materialistic. I notice that they kind of, stuff is just stuff to them.
Yeah.
And they don't freak out if you break a vase, not that anyone has those anymore, or they'll readily hand you the keys to their car. And it's crazy because that it makes sense now, like the correlation between, wow, they're really healthy people and they have stuff, but it doesn't define them. I think that some of the stuff John said, most of the things that I said that I had thought was interesting, but I also think that it's crazy how many of these things are sort of structures of society now. So I almost wonder if maybe if we weren't lonely before, like if doing these things makes us lonely. So like even you've gained weight, you can't ever point out to people if they've gained weight because of body positivity, right? Like everything is like, I'm all about that base. So we never think that we can kind of like maybe point it out, or, you know, if we are gaining weight, we can always find someone to tell us it's okay, you're beautiful as you are, right? So then we don't appreciate that. I think that stop, you know, binge watching shows. That's something that I don't think you necessarily have to be lonely to do, but if you ever binge watch a show, you feel pretty lonely afterwards. Like I feel, right? Because you feel like the characters are your friends, and then the show's over, and then you're like, wow, I have no friends.
Sad. Yeah.
A
letdown.
And then the social media thing, you know, we spend so much time and we know that it makes us sad. Yeah. And then even just the material possessions, like everything on Pinterest, everything that you have to dress a certain way, you have to have this body lotion and this face mask. It's kind of all those things where I'm like, wow, I can kind of see why we're a very lonely people, because these are like pillars of our society now.
I think, you guys kind of pointed out all the ones that I kind of dug too. As a whole, I just thought that you could tell like lonely people crave human contact, but because of their mindset, it makes it hard to connect. So like we're lonely, so we want to connect with people, but we're just gonna, you know, binge watch a show. No, we're tired. You don't want to hang out. Like it's when you're in that state, it's hard to like, you've gotten it. Like come hang out. Come, let's go eat. Come, let's go do this. And you're like, I'm tired. But it's just your soul is tired. You're kind of broken. And we'll get picky too. We'll be like, well, yeah, but I wanted to hang out with so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm like, yo, like, we can't appreciate what we have. We'll start buying stuff on Amazon. I know people who literally retail therapy, like, I'm going to buy stuff because I'm broken. I was like, you could buy this, but you're still going to be broken. You know, like we just start satisfying certain things, or people who literally haven't come out of the house since, I don't know, 1918. But they know everything going on. Did you see what she just bought? Did you see this? Did you see they're together? Like living through social media. I'm like, but they have yet to come out and be like, hi world. Like, let me just go to Publix. Let me just, you know what I'm saying? Talk to the cashier.
And stuff like that really helps too. Like just forcing yourself to go.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I grew up with siblings. But like going to the stores is really nostalgic sometimes for me. Like, 'cause I just remember just misbehaving in the stores with all my brothers and sisters, like playing tag, whatever.
I broke a mannequin once. I tried to climb it and it fell.
Okay, you tried to climb it?
Yeah, I just wanted to. There was a mannequin there, and my mom was like, I don't know, somewhere else, and all three of us, Lotto was too little, like went running. My mom heard, Blaka! And then you heard all these little footsteps. We got kicked out of the store.
Wow.
Okay, I never did that.
That's crazy.
Mannequins are really expensive.
Yes, I know. When you grow up and you're like, wow, that mannequin cost a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
But just being in that environment, like, I don't know, you could think, all right, I guess it doesn't make sense, but you're home. You feel lonely, right? Like going grocery shopping, it literally, like, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's because it's a task that you're getting done. Maybe it's because you're just seeing other people, but whatever it is, it's not about that in itself. It's about what that will lead to. You'll get home and you'll feel different.
Yeah.
Like I've just done it. I've done it multiple times. Like even if it's like something I've been putting off, like, I don't know, like I had to return this internet modem to like some internet store that I would never walk into if I didn't have to do that. Like it was really out of the way and stuff. Right. But I remember like I just really didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do anything that day. I just forced myself. I got up. I did it. I ended up seeing Squirrel like in the parking lot of some restaurant. I don't even remember what it was, but that was I saw him there. That got me like extra happy because I saw someone else from like I made myself do something, and it's not about the thing. I didn't want to return the modem or whatever, but it led to just my mind being like off of that. So yeah, just a lot of that.
It's funny because it's just self-preservation. Like if you ever studies or people who are going through depression and you see yourself kind of sinking, but if you kind of take back and doctors will ask you this, or counselors, like if you get up in the morning, I'm like, are you combing your hair?
Right.
Are you putting on a new pair, or like a new clean shirt?
Right.
Little things like that. Like it's not like, oh my gosh, it's perfection. But it's like the fact that you're like, no, I'm going to make myself at least appear to be presentable, or put on something clean, or put makeup on, or like just get out of the house. It still shows that you have hope. Right. It shows that look at it, because you're still, you may think it's all over and it's done, but like those little glimmers of hope, like, no, like I'm worth something.
Right.
I'm a person. I'm valuable. So like I can have a conversation. I can get up and it inspire, because we're smart, resilient people. Like the Lord made us so unique and so awesome that there's a self-preservation mode that we can go into, that it's like, okay, I'm not feeling it right now. Let me put this clothes on. Let me go for a walk. Let me go for a run. Let me reach out. And all of a sudden we're getting in gear, and it's like a little refresh, a little reset. We're like, oh, okay, thank you, Jesus. I feel better. And you do a little, you know what I'm saying? Like you give a little, and all of a sudden you start getting it back. And it's amazing how the body and the mind work.
It is weird, but it's amazing.
But I think too, it's because we were created to be actively working and, pursuing God and doing his work. And, we never were like created to be potatoes, right? Like potatoes are potatoes.
Right.
And so,
I want a potato right now.
I want some fried potatoes. But I think that almost like reconnects us with our purpose and whatever. I know that one way I didn't have postpartum depression. I just feel like I should point that out. But I remember every doctor's appointment when I was pregnant and whatever, they would always remind us of these like symptoms, and it would be like the checkups and stuff. It would be like, have you felt, unproductive? Have you been doing this? How, do you feel tired? Do you feel whatever? And it was all of these symptoms of basically, if you're so, and it's hard because after you have a baby, you're like destroyed anyways. But some of the things are like, if it's so much to the point where you can't take care of yourself, or you can't take care of your child, or can't whatever, then that's when we're like, okay, this is really serious. As long as you can like keep getting up, keep taking a shower, keep doing this, then it's sort of like you might be going through something, but it's not, you haven't gone over that cliff yet.
And I think we need to kind of give ourselves a break in that too. Like when you go through physical duress, like pushing a lot of baby people at you.
You're welcome.
You know what I'm saying? Or like mental, brokenness, or like, you're just trying to finish up school. Like, give yourselves a break.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to be, at 100. It's okay to like take a moment and go, I'm struggling right now.
Yeah.
What do I need? I need a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? I need a snack. I need to binge watch a show. Yeah. Like, it's just kind of that, because we're going through things, and it's okay to feel this way, but we have to choose to react positively. Right. So
the reason that's so important to understand is because, and there's so many things that the devil tries to get in our heads with, obviously, but this is a big one. It's this, I've talked about it a lot recently with just different people. It's like there's a pattern lately, but it's like this compounding issue where it's like there's one thing, there's the loneliness in itself, right? But then there's this guilt for being lonely. Yeah. Like, how dare I? You know what I'm saying? And the reason that's so important is because, like, you're out here like conquering things that God has put in front of you. You're graduating from school. Right, you're you know what I mean? You're going to graduate someday. You know what I mean? Or you're whatever the case may be.
Giving life.
Like, that's a pretty big deal. Like, exactly.
And those are things, first home, like just doing
huge things that like where when loneliness sets in after the fact, or on some random day, it's like loneliness is bad, but then on top of that, we're like, I don't have the right to be lonely. How dare I? And it stresses out even more. A lot of that time,
loneliness does come at our biggest triumphs too.
Oh my gosh, they talk about that a lot with like pastors and stuff. The Monday morning after, it's like the saddest day in the world, right?
Even celebrities, when they win, like, when later on when they're like not as famous, they do like the height of their career, and they're like, I won a Grammy and I went home and I cried myself to sleep, or something like that, and like none of us understand like that could be a part of it.
Right. The lowest night of the week for me is Sunday nights after church, going to my house. I usually get there. I get super late.
I believe it.
So like in my complex, like everyone always comes home on the weekends. So like all of a sudden I have to park all the way. I have to come back to Curry Ford to park my car. So I have to walk all the way back to my house, and I'm like walking, and it's muggy, and I have my stuff, and I'm just going, and it is like invitation. It's like, and I'm just there, and I'm literally contemplating everything, analyzing everything, wondering if it's enough, what's the point, what's the purpose, and it hits, and sometimes I like laugh at myself, and I'm like, I literally was just in front of hundreds, making them laugh, because of the stupid picture I showed of my dog in Zion, and I am here feeling this like loneliness and I know that 50% that's just the devil coming at
a lot
me.
Of it is just spiritual. It's not even
like
a lot
what
of spiritual.
I think or feel. So I'm just like, okay, nah, come on. Let's not get it twisted. You just need a snack. I go home, I have dinner. Once I eat glorious food, sometimes it's Michael Javier's mom, shout out, or I have a little bit of. I'm like, okay, now what's my real thought? And so I can still feel, but. It's kind of taking all those into consideration, but it's crazy how at the height, you just feel the worst.
Yeah, but like you were saying, you have to give yourself that credit in that room, and you have to really look back at it as like a sign of like, wait a second, look what God just did. I need to understand. Well, of course, there's going to be some sort of attack for what I just contributed to the kingdom or to my life that will eventually build the kingdom.
And it's a spiritual attack, nothing to do with you or your mind. So we have to recognize that too, that there is a spiritual realm coming at us that has nothing to do with what truth is or what it's even going on in our headspace.
I feel like the reason people wouldn't make that association is because maybe they're doing school, they don't consider the courses or what they're majoring in like, oh, that's not for the kingdom directly. No, but like if you love God and your life is worship unto God. So that is an attack on the kingdom of darkness. You are moving forward and you are living your life for the kingdom. If you love God, man, it doesn't matter what field you're in, man, you're going to build a family that glorifies God. You're going to be in your career that glorifies God. And there is an attack of the enemy that follows those big movements towards that.
Yeah, especially breaking those generational curses, like being the first one to graduate high school, first in your family to graduate college, first person be in ministry, getting ready to do missions, you know what I'm saying? About to, you're studying for your teaching exam so you could teach, in Orange County because we need positive teachers. So like, if the enemy can get you now, he doesn't have to worry about it when it's, in the future and whatever. So it is real. And for us as believers to think that's not a real thing, I think that we're blind. Real. We have to accept that.
It's very real.
That there's a whole thing that if we can, rebuke and renounce and be, this is not me. This is the devil. Not saying that there's a devil underneath every rock. But if we can do that, then we can take ownership more of what is our responsibility and like what the environment is responsible for also.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus. What are some of the worst ways to deal with your feelings of loneliness?
One of them to me, which RIP to Tumblr, I think some people still have it, but whatever. That was like the lonely person social media. And so that's what reminded me of like when people were lonely, they would go write on Tumblr how lonely they are.
Yeah.
But I actually remember friends of mine at the time, like we would just be hanging out and they would go home on their Tumblr and talk about how lonely they are. But I mean, it was literally like 20 minutes. I'm like, did you speed home to do this? Because I'm confused. So I think that like putting it out on social media, I don't think you ever are going to get the response you want. Cause I think at that point you've sort of withdrawn so much that you just put it out there almost cause you think it's going to hurt people who care about you, like you weren't there for me enough, so now I'm on social media saying how lonely I am. I just think it's the worst thing. It's like the opposite of what you should do.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you could do when you're lonely is sleep. And I don't mean like at night because you need to sleep.
Never sleep again.
Stay up.
But as a reliever of your loneliness, like do not go to sleep, please, because like on top of the fact that you're not addressing the issue in itself and exercising how to respond to loneliness, you're also just wasting time.
Yeah.
Like, in your heart, you don't want to sleep. You're doing it because of how you feel.
Yeah.
So I think that's the worst way you could it's the worst way I've responded to loneliness in my life, like honestly. But besides that, like kind of what I said earlier, like the worst way to respond is as if you're a victim of either yourself or other people. Like that's just not the case. At the end of the day, we all understand that loneliness is something that we can capitalize on. We can get in prayer. Like if nothing else, like we can say, you know what? I'm lonely. That means nothing else is going on. I'm done. Everything else shut out. I'm praying.
Yeah.
I'm being with God right now and feeling the Holy Spirit and just going in for my family and all this stuff. So that to me, those are the two biggest things. One's more spiritual than the other's practical. But yeah, like don't go to sleep. I just don't think it leads to anything good on the other side. And then don't lean into like the blame game because it can really feel good sometimes to blame other people or yourself with that. I feel like that's what you were saying with Tumblr and stuff. Like I just feel like that's people feeling bad for themselves kind of.
Yeah, but I think it's also people wanting people to feel bad for them.
As I was going to say, wanting that response.
Instead of wanting real human interaction, you're like, no, I just want you to feel bad for me that I'm going through this.
Like,
I'm like, no, but we can have a conversation, though.
It's a spiral.
Yeah.
You can really go down that hole. It's hard to get out of it because you end up living this life that it's always someone else's fault.
Yeah.
I would love it if we just would all just be like, from this point, I don't care if it's like someone like murdered your cat. Like, no, your cat shouldn't have been outside. Like there's a mindset in psychology that it's like, take ownership of everything. Yes. Just take and you take ownership so that you just stop blaming everybody else. So you can always, because you can only control yourself.
Right. Yeah. That's so
Can't
big.
control anyone else. You can't control God. You can't control life. Yeah. You can control you and what you decide. So if you, even in the worst case scenario, choose to take responsibility, it'll change your whole perspective on life and your attack.
Amen.
I think some of the worst things people could do, number one, is to go back to once you let go of. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Don't text your ex.
Yeah.
Don't text your ex. I know everybody has been texting their ex during quarantine.
That's bad.
And it's just like you're going back to what you once let go of, like all this progress and work, and you're going back. So now when everyone comes back and we're moving forward and thriving, you are literally where you were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so depressing. So I think sometimes too, in loneliness, you don't really miss that person. You miss the idea of that person. Because if you really miss that person, then you would already be with that person.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't want to be with you doesn't want to be with you.
Yeah.
And we have to accept it. Females, it's hard. You're laughing. I'm like, females don't understand that.
Right.
We're like, we can convince you. And men will not be convinced. You know, that's just not how love works and relationships work. So we have to learn it's the idea that I miss. Because I binged watched the show.
Yeah. Right. And all of them are happy
they're
and
happy
romantic.
now. And I'm like, and after the drama, there's a happy ending because someone wrote it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, the drama, my happy ending's coming.
Right.
Sweetheart, life has no happy end.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Let's end it there.
No, life does. Heaven and Jesus and glorious, but we have to stop living in that. And then also, I think the worst thing you could do is to pick up unhealthy habits. I know a lot of people being alone have made decisions that they would not normally have in their life.
Yeah.
They've adopted really bad habits that could maybe lead to addictions, that could maybe lead to coping mechanisms. So spending too much time with people. I know people have cross lines that they would not normally cross. And that's very unhealthy because now those lines are crossed and now that's a part of your life and your pattern and you can't go back because you made those decisions in a moment of weakness and not in a posture of sanity.
Yeah.
And I think that is the worst thing you could do. So if you're listening right now and you're still contemplating whether to like lose your mind, don't lose it.
My ex?
Stay home. Don't text him. Don't do it. Don't grab that. Don't pick that up. Don't look at that. Turn it off. The devil is a liar. Yeah. And you are inviting these things into your, you're like, I'm miserable. Yeah, but at least you're miserable and without these extra things.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord Jesus, help us. Amen. We're almost done here. But what are some tips for coping with loneliness that you guys have?
I would say, like, just get out of your house. There is like healing in just being outside because the air is fresh and the sun is on you and gives you vitamins, whatever. Yeah. So like get physically outside, even if it's just walking to your car. I would say to just honestly text someone and reach out to them. You don't even have to be like, hey, I'm super lonely. Just be like, hey, I really could use someone to hang out with. Do you want to hang out? Don't make it like someone you've never hung out with before. Don't make it like, I wish I could be friends with them. Like whoever is the most low stress, low pressure person in your life that you don't have to talk to if you don't want to, that person, like whether it's your mom or it's your friend, whatever, just see if they'll hang out with you. Just see if you can come over, see if they'll text you, whatever. I think that's a good thing to do because again, to me at least, loneliness is a mindset. And there might be a season of loneliness for spiritual reasons where God is taking you through. We've all been through that. Yeah. But even in those times, especially being a Christian, one of the perks is that you have the church. And so I just think you can always find help if you need it. You just have to get over your pride and just be like, okay, I need it. I've gone too far. Binge watched too many things, bought too many things on Amazon. I need to talk to a human person. Yeah. And someone will text you back. I'll text you back. You know what I mean? Jonathan, we'll text you back. If you have no one else, I'll try. It'll be okay.
I think sometimes we underestimate the power of just a conversation not going that deep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like running into a squirrel in the parking lot.
I'm telling
like,
you.
no big deal. But it was just like,
oh my
you know
gosh,
what I'm
that's
saying?
so good.
Like,
Amen.
we don't need
Times
to have
1,000.
like open heart surgery with every conversation.
And sometimes that's not what you need. Sometimes you don't. That's what I'm saying. Find the most low stress, low pressure person, because if you find the person where you're like, we always have these deep talks, you're probably going to be like more depressed after you hang out with them, and then they're going to be depressed too.
Yes.
You don't always need that. Sometimes you need a kind of surface level hangout where you guys just talk about funny things and you look at memes together. And you need that to bring some levity to such like a heavy situation that you're going through.
Okay, so just some tips for coping with loneliness. I think ironically, the number one tip I could give for dealing with loneliness, I think the best way to alleviate feeling like there's no one there and feeling like no one is thinking about you is to, and hear me on this, is to be rapidly thinking about others. I have found that is such like a switch for me, like out of nowhere, I'm just like, I'm out of that former phase of thinking. So there's 3 pretty practical tips that I'll give. Number 1 is like, be in group chats. Like, and I know it's ironic because I don't respond to group chats that have like a mission to them. No, but hear me out. Because I get stressed by those. But I have a group chat on Instagram with my brothers. Okay. It's all of my brothers and me. It's just the brothers. And it is crazy how like you could just throw a meme in there, you know what I mean? Or just say good morning or whatever, and it'll start like everybody talking. So man, like if it's family members, if it's friends, whatever, just make like 2 or 3 group chats. Like I promise you this works. Make like 2 or 3. And when you're feeling weird, whatever, just shoot a text.
Especially in this quarantine time that we're still not allowed to go into people's homes.
Exactly, right.
You only run into people at Target, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And even that, it's like 6 feet apart.
Yep.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, so like get in group chats, just whatever. Just I promise that works. And then the next 2, one is like go exercise. Like I don't know what it is about exercising.
Endorphins. It's chemical.
but it also and so back to what I was saying before, it makes me think about other people. Like I start just get very thoughtful. I'm like, well, what's this person up to? What's this? And you might not even act on that. You should, hit people up, text and whatever. But like even if you don't, something about thinking of others, not forcing yourself to, but doing an activity that's naturally making you think of other people. Yeah. It changes things up really quickly on top of the endorphins that exercising brings you. And then the last one, which should probably be number 1, but is pray. And I know that seems very cliche, but that's another thing that in my life has led to people just coming to my mind and into my heart. And like, I just think of people as I pray. And I think that's, if that's not something you've experienced before, that's a heart that you can pray to have. And so, like those 3 things, man, they just help you realize that you are absolutely not alone. Because like you said, like a misconception is like that you're actually alone. Like you're not. You're really not. And group chats and exercising and praying, those are just, they help you realize.
I think that's really good. I have a couple tips too. I think people need to realize that loneliness is a feeling. It is not a fact.
Yeah.
It's a feeling that you feel. And loneliness is triggered by a memory. Okay, that's how loneliness works. It's not just like, oh, come on in. It's triggered by a memory. There's something that because you realize, you remember at some point you were not lonely. Mm-hmm. So it's not just like all of a sudden I wake up, I feel you remember
that's
something.
Crazy.
You bring something to mind and you remember it. So you feel all of a sudden the memory is triggered. You feel lonely. Then your brain starts to rationalize it because once again, we fix ourselves. We got to cut. The body starts going, whoop. So your brain is trying to fix that memory. And what your brain does, it rationalizes. So sometimes when we don't have positive coping mechanisms because we don't read our word, which that'll be a thing in a second, we go, okay, why am I lonely? It is because I'm a loser. So that's how we rationalize it. So we're like, I'm a loser. I'm horrible. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I do have too much bass. Like it's all these things. And we start focusing on that. Then all of a sudden, it's a bigger problem than it ever was. And it was just triggered by a thought. So I think people need to be, number one, educated in that and go, okay, it's not a fact. It's a thought that went rampant. There's a reason why the Bible says, take these thoughts captive, so be careful what you bring in, be careful what you put before your eyes, be careful who you're around. You'd be surprised how the sunshine, it was just being outside, get a little sun, you just feel better, get those endorphins going. But then also remember, happy people do happy things. That's why you're like, I'm like, no, because you feel better.
Yeah.
But when you realize that it's just a feeling, it's not a fact, it helps you move forward. I would suggest read the Bible, read a Psalm, read something positive, memorize it, shove it in your brain. Even just put it on your Bible app. Like, just let it talk. Even when you're in the shower, just let it play. Let it just be in your head.
Yeah.
And I would suggest also too, if it's really consuming, I would suggest a time of fasting. Whether it's food, and I know it's harder being at home, but even just 24 hours, like, I'm not going to eat today, Lord, because I want to hear you a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
You're crucifying the flesh, and it helps you go, okay, this is the enemy.
That's so good.
This is good. God is teaching me something,
Yeah.
and it helps you separate. So I was really feeling that strong in my spirit. I think some people need to do that at home, and it's really awesome. My last one is fill your schedule with things.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's dumb
Go
things.
do something.
But like in the morning, I'm going to binge watch this show for 3 hours. Like, go for it. Binge it.
Yeah.
And then, but you know what? Then I'm going to go to the mailbox.
That's good. Yeah.
And then I'm going to go text.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go take a shower because I stank. Then I'm going to go and, kind of do a schedule. I think that the one thing that we do have here at The Voice, and yes, plug, but not shameless at all, we have Zoom cadences.
Yeah.
So cadences are small groups to connect, and we have those. And it's hard for people to come out physically to those things. But now I feel like the Lord has made it easier. You don't actually have to even leave your house. You just have to, get online and just be there.
Yeah.
And it is easier per se, but it's also awkward per se.
Yeah.
But the awkwardness is there, except the fact that it's going to be weird at first.
Yeah.
It was funny yesterday. We've been in quarantine for 7 weeks now. And we've been doing all our ministry meetings online for, 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And we Zoom and we do these things, and it's a weird angle. We don't know what's going on. And sometimes babies show up. Sometimes babies don't. Animals are there. There's just random sounds, and there's birds, and it's weird. And forget the camera. Don't have the camera. We get logged off because we didn't pay for it. We come back on. No one says anything. And I'm like, anyone? Bueller? No one.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And then, we go this thing, but then we'll see you on Zoom next time. We forget the time. Everyone's asleep. You see too much. You don't see enough. It's horrible. Okay. And then last week, yesterday, we're having a meeting. And for the first time, it was towards the middle end of the meeting. And for the first time in about 2 months, it finally felt normal. Mm-hmm. There was laughing. There was jokes. There was participation. It felt right. And I'm like, man, it took us 2 months to finally Zoom it normal. So I say all that to say it's like, guys, like it's going to feel awkward and weird during this time. But we have to accept the fact that group chats or social media is our one way to reach out. So just do it.
Just do it.
Don't go into it going, it's going to be so normal and perfect. It's going to be no, it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, but we're all weird together. Yeah. And at some point you're going to have that one conversation. I've been doing like Zoom appearances. I preached like my first little sermon last week. Not my first, it was the first one that didn't feel weird. Mm-hmm. And I knew it didn't feel weird because at one point I'm like, I'm about to stand up. Like I wanted to leave my chair and pace and I couldn't pace. So I was like, okay, back to you, folks. Like, but it was funny because it was the first one I've done that I'm like, I'm finally getting comfortable. Yeah. So the idea that it's, but it's awkward, but it's weird, but it's just like with any other social skills. Like it is going to be awkward. It is going to be weird. It is humbling to go, hey, can we talk? Hey, can we connect? Hey, it is humbling, but we got to do it because it helps. And eventually you kind of form those connections and you have those conversations and it's good. So get on a Zoom cadence today. Like they're just there. There's people on there. And some of these leaders that are running it are like super nice. Yeah. Like, is anyone nicer than Daphne or Liz? I was thinking about that. Like they're just so Liz Token's wife. Like, so nice, so inviting, so whatever. I'm just like, oh my gosh, these people they're meant for such a time as this.
You could tell just in the Zoom promo, the one with all of them go one by one.
You're like, DeMarcus, who else do you want to study the Bible with?
No, they're literally the best people.
Like, if you reach out to them and connect, it could start so much. And the one thing that you're praying for, they're your answer.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
I would just say, I hope from watching this, that people understand to not be afraid of admitting you're lonely. Yeah. Because I was thinking when we were talking about this whole thing, I was thinking about my answer, and I was like, I don't know if at any point in my life I have ever admitted to being lonely. Yeah. You know, until this, where I had to think about it. And I'm like, I'm sure I have been lonely, but it seems like a shameful thing or something. And it really isn't, because we all feel it. It's just a feeling. Even if it's a strong feeling, it's just a season that you'll go through. It won't last forever. So I would say that, like, shake off the shame of loneliness, because then you can get out of it easier.
Yeah, something I've been I've shared a couple times is just like with everything in life, including like the seasons we feel like are just like wastes of time, like with God, nothing is wasted at all. And so I've shared this a few times, but there are exclusives to this season of your life and of my life and all of our lives. There are exclusives, things, opportunities that we have now that we will never, ever have again. Yeah. That in itself, just that fact alone, should be enough to like excite you and to say, you know what, there's got to be a purpose to this loneliness, because there is. It's just a thought. Really what it is you've got time to do whatever you want. Loneliness just jumps in there and says, oh, this is how you feel during this time. But nothing's wasted with God. And so if you begin to look at this season not as one of perpetuating loneliness in your life, but one of like, wow, this season is so special and unique. The enemy's trying to attack it at any angle he can. If you look at it that way, it's like, well, wait a second. I'm not going to miss out on the immense amounts of prayer that will fuel the ministry to come in my life, the immense amounts of prayer that will lead to the salvation of those family members that I'm believing for, the immense, you know what I mean? Like the exclusive. So that's just something I'd teach myself early on. Like this is not an accident to God. This is not a surprise. Yeah. So nothing's wasted. And if you lead on that, you just, loneliness will still come, but it'll be more of a sign of like, well, wait a second. There's something incredible that could be happening here. Yeah,
so. It's more of a flag, like a warning sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a get ready sign. Mm-hmm. Something's about to happen.
Yeah, amen.
Just like this.
Mm-hmm. It looks exactly like that.
That is what it looks like.
My wrists are crazy. Okay, I'm gonna pick a cookie. Okay. I may need your help, Jonathan, because I don't know if I'm allowed to move John, my mic.
Use those limbs.
Oh, look! Whoa! What the?
He barely had to even lean forward.
I've been practicing.
The tallest man on earth.
That was really.
It was easy.
You know, actually, I watched a show the other day, Married at First Sight, season 9, and the guy on it was 6'9". Yeah. And I was like,
there's a man taller than Jonathan.
Yeah.
No,
I've been trying to tell you guys.
That's not true.
6'3" is not.
There's only Shaquille O'Neal. That's it.
I've been trying to tell you guys. That's the only one that's taller than you.
Except the fact that you're the tallest man alive. Why can't you just run with that and trust
it?
Okay. His voice gets lower.
This is about the voice after quarantine.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go. I've been waiting for this one.
That was a self-prophecy too, so I'm like, I believe it now. Me and Jonathan wouldn't have come up with that.
No way.
Even though this isn't the final episode of the season, but
don't eat that cookie after you open it.
No, I won't.
Because I ate mine last week.
Oh.
And it was horrible.
Oh. Focus on trusting your intuition and you will get through it.
Wow.
Okay.
That's very relevant.
Intuition, the Holy Spirit.
I'm telling you.
That's what it is.
I'm telling you. That's my intuition. Holy Spirit.
My intuition.
I trust in him all day.
We're going to get through it.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you were blessed or you were inspired by this, I ask you, go ahead and share it right now. Share it to Twitter, share it to Facebook, share it everywhere. You know someone probably that's going through loneliness right now, and we just want to come and give a little bit of love and a little bit of advice. I hope that you are doing amazing, that you are doing great. Hopefully we get to see you guys super soon after quarantine. Love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Later.